What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. We had another wild day in the market. We have some huge news to cover with Tesla earnings and the crazy movement we've seen with the market overall today. We had Powell speak, and the market was all over the place. It popped up right when the statement was released, and then like maybe 30 minutes later, it started tanking down. So we have a lot of crazy things to cover today. Stick with us to the end. But Tom, let's get right into today's video.
Yeah, Mike, and like we usually see, Powell usually makes the market go up, but this time he actually made the market go down. Like you said, the Fed statement initially made the market pop up for those first few minutes, and whenever Powell started speaking, the market took a pretty big drop, and he said, in quotes, "I think there's quite a bit of room to raise interest rates without threatening the labor market." And he also said that asset purchases are likely to halt in March, which is pretty big. They've been buying up a ton of bonds and stuff like that lately. And as they start to halt those purchases, it's obviously going to slow down the market a little bit. And then they also indicated that they might reduce their bond holdings, which they did not give a time frame for. But as they start to sell out of these, I would expect the market to take a little bit of a hit from that alone.
Exactly. So in English, basically, they're still pumping the markets just a little bit, but they're going to stop pumping the markets very soon. They plan to stop pumping the markets in March, and that's what the asset purchasing program is. So just something to be aware of. Like Tom already said, they did not raise rates, but they said they are going to soon. So that is something very important to keep in mind. And Tom, I'll say this was like a very mixed day because like the market did pretty well early on, and then like when the FOMC came out, when Powell spoke, like obviously it tanked down, but still like the market, it was only down like 0.3% today, which is a lot, but it's nothing too crazy compared to, what we've been seeing over like the past couple weeks.
Yeah, it's honestly not even as bad as this Monday. Like this Monday, we saw a pretty big sell-off down towards 420 on the SPY, and then we just recovered. And honestly, we kind of held our ground today around this 430 support. So you're right. It definitely was a little bit better than I was expecting. I was kind of expecting the SPY to maybe start to fall below this key level around like 427 and start to really sell off, but it just didn't fall with the velocity I think a lot of people thought. And like you said, the market was actually digesting this pretty well heading into the event. And then Powell, I think, was just a little bit more hawkish or a little bit more bearish on the market, I think, than people were expecting. And, we did see the growth stocks do very well this morning, Mike. Like DraftKings was exploding up. And then after this event, a lot of the growth stocks tumbled right back over. But I was still happy to see a lot of these stocks like DraftKings up 5%. It was honestly a pretty good day, even with the tumble at the end.
Very true. I mean, it was awesome. DraftKings was up like 17% around highs today, which was, you can't really ask for anything better than that. But like you said, they did end up coming back down, which was a little bit unfortunate, but it still ended in the green. And, even we had like companies like Microsoft pull a complete 180 on us from yesterday's video. Like we recorded yesterday's video with their earnings and they were down, and they actually finished up around 3% today.
Yeah, they did. This was pretty crazy to see. Like in after hours, they were touching 270 down to 269 at the low. Like I don't think anybody was expecting recovery, at least for those few minutes there. But, they had good earnings. They just had a pretty bad outlook, at least for like the next year. But in the end, they ended up recovering up very well. And, talking about earnings, Mike, we had some huge earnings today, of course, with Tesla. They reported and they ended up actually tanking down to the downside, of course. This is not good to see. They touched this 880 support, and they actually had pretty good numbers come out. I actually have the article right here. So we can see they beat on EPS, which was great, and they had good revenue. They just had a bit of a downturn, as apparently the company said our own factories have been running below capacity for several quarters as supply chains became the main limiting factor, which is likely to continue through 2022, they said. So that's pretty bad to see that they are getting hit by supply chain issues. But in the end, though, they've still been coming out with some pretty good deliveries. In 2021, they delivered 936,000 vehicles, an 87% increase over 2020. Those are pretty good numbers, especially for a company that's like still trying to get going. They're still building factories in Austin, Texas, and Germany right now. So once those factories are done, it might even get better.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Like they have a lot of other factories in the works, and that'll even help their deliveries even more. So, in terms of Tesla stock, Tom, it's kind of all over the place. Like it was like selling off in after hours, but now it's kind of coming back up. As we already said with yesterday's video, Microsoft was so wild. Like it was down initially, and then it ended up going green. So watch Tesla, guys. The I guess you could say the conference call did not happen yet, and those calls can always move these stocks in a big way.
Yeah, those conference calls can be pretty big, and they're expected to talk about some pretty big stuff in those calls, like their upcoming semi trucks, the supply chain issues, and different stuff like that. And I expect that the conference call might move the stock even more than the initial earnings did. We've been seeing poor outlooks really causing some stocks to go down lately, like Microsoft was yesterday initially, and then we also saw Netflix take that big tumble as they missed those subscribers there. So yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what they end up saying. It can end up really moving the stock, and I'm hoping that Elon says something positive to kind of get Tesla back up there, because I would love for this one to turn around like Microsoft, because lots of people love Tesla, and it's honestly been dipping quite a bit lately.
True. So in terms of like price movement, Tom, what are like the, I don't know, like a couple main levels to watch for?
Yeah, some of the main ones are going to be this high of day today, which was right around like 985 to 986. I think that's going to be a huge level to look at. We obviously hit there today right before Powell spoke and then kind of tanked right back to the downside. And then we bounced off of 880 here in after hours. So if 880 ends up holding up tonight, I think Tesla might be able to recover back, kind of like how we saw Microsoft bounce off of their support last night and then recover. So 880 will be the main support, and then 860 below that. But I will say though, Mike, if we do end up falling down and we break below 860, I'm going to be pretty worried about Tesla. Like if we look at Tesla on the 1 year daily chart, they've been following this trend line here for a long time, and it looks like a bit of a dead cat bounce setup on the chart. So I hope that some of these major levels hold.
For sure. All right, Tom, what other major earnings do we have for the rest of the week? I know there's a lot of big companies reporting. What do we have in store?
Yeah, we had Intel today and after hours too. Their stock was down. Tomorrow, we're going to have MasterCard before market open. That's going to be huge. Then we have McDonald's. I know McDonald's has been a pretty good stock this year. And then tomorrow after close is probably going to be the biggest event of the week, besides Powell, of course. But, we can see Apple is going to be reporting along with Robinhood, Visa, US Steel, WDC. It's going to be a pretty big day tomorrow, almost as big as today. Tesla reported. Obviously, lots of people love them. Apple's even bigger. So we'll have to see how they end up moving. And then Friday, we have oil looks like they're starting out. And then we have Caterpillar too. So it's going to be a pretty crazy week, Mike. We're seeing Tesla down in after hours. Microsoft had that 180 yesterday. And I'm really curious how Apple's going to do.
I'm very curious how Robinhood's going to do with all the crazy movement we've seen over the past couple months. Robinhood really benefits when, there's just like more trading in general, whether it's with stocks, options, or crypto. So I'm just very curious to see how their earnings are, and then more importantly, how the market reacts to them.
Yeah, me too. And they've been taking a huge dip lately. If they start to pop up on these earnings, I mean, we could probably see a pretty big move out of this company. Same thing to the downside though. So you have to be careful. But I feel like, Mike, it could end up making a good move here. It's been a long time since Robinhood had any upside movement. Like it's honestly been straight down almost since November. So I definitely hope that they get some good numbers. And like we've been seeing, the VIX itself has been kind of going crazy over the past couple of months. So I think that shows that there is some volatility in the market now.
True. And I will say one more thing with Robinhood. As long as their earnings are good and if the stock continues to fall, I'm really going to consider buying the dip on this one. But keep in mind, it depends how their earnings are, right? So we'll reevaluate tomorrow. But like the stock has just been beaten down so much over the past year, and they're in a very profitable business and they still have growth potential. So it's just like one of those plays I'm eyeing up. I did not make any moves yet, but I just figured I'd let everyone know now because it's just on my radar.
Yeah, it's a really cool stock. Robinhood's one of those big players in the market, and they've been pretty popular. I will say a lot of traders started to not like them after all that AMC stuff went on, but in the end, they're really popular. A lot of people use them, and they're going to be pretty big as far as the future goes with trading. Like Robinhood themselves brought so many new traders into the market. It honestly created a lot more volume. And I'm glad to see that, what like the innovations they've been doing and all the people that they've been helping out. So I hope they do good also. And then Mike, we also have Visa reporting, which, these credit card companies have been dipping quite a bit lately. So that's going to be a pretty interesting one also.
True that. And the comments from the previous video, I mean, it was basically just talking about Robinhood, which we already covered, and we just had a lot of people mentioning Powell. So I will say it's been a wild week, Tom, but we do have a big day tomorrow with all the earnings reports. And then before we wrap up the video, I want to make sure to cover the momentum plays for tomorrow. So let's cover these ones right now. With the first one, we have Neo to the downside.
Yeah, with Neo, go ahead and make them break below $22 even tomorrow. It looks like they're taking a pretty big tumble here.
All right, with the next one, we have Netflix also to the downside.
Yeah, poor Netflix just keeps going. Go ahead and make them break below 350 even.
All right, and with the last one, we have Chewy, but to the upside.
Yeah, Chewy did really good today, Mike, especially midday. Go ahead and make them break out above $46.
Sounds good. So we were watching Chewy for a potential day trade to the upside tomorrow, only if it breaks above the level Tom listed. And we were watching Neo and Netflix for potential day trades to the downside tomorrow, only if they break below the levels Tom listed. And then while we're on the topic of Chewy, the bot had an awesome call out with Chewy calls today. If we take a look at the hybrid bot, it called out the 45 strike calls at $133 each, and they ran all the way up to 184 within a couple hours. So if you trade options, definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below for daily option swing trades, day trades, and access to a great community. You can cancel at any time. Of course, the bot does not win 100% of its plays, but it does a pretty good job, and on average, each play pops for around 33%. So definitely check it out for day trades and swing trades, and just a great community overall. But Tom, do you have any last-minute plays before we wrap up today's video?
Yeah, just overall, today was a pretty good day in the market. Like we talked about early on, a lot of the growth stocks were doing very well. So I'm going to be really curious over the next couple of days to see how these stocks move. DraftKings had some pretty good news come out this morning. A lot of banks were actually upgrading DraftKings, which was nice to see. They've been getting some downgrades lately. So I'm glad to see that some of the major institutions are actually going to be upgrading them now, which is nice. And, it's not just DraftKings, though. We saw lots of stocks do pretty well today, whether it's DraftKings, ChargePoint, Zoom. Lots of them had a lot of good early on movement, and then they just tanked off at the end. So I'm really curious to see how some of these are going to move, especially some of the big chip stocks like NVIDIA and AMD. Like these stocks were so hot early on and just started tanking off with all this news of rates rising. So we'll have to see. But, if these major players like NVIDIA and AMD start falling down, we might have to start looking at the SPY also to the downside, and we might have to play it below this 427 support.
Very, very true. So if you guys liked today's video, please consider subscribing. We post brand new videos every single day, and let us know what stocks you are watching in the comments down below. Let us know what you guys think about this market. Do you think we're going to head lower, or is now the time to buy the dip? We really appreciate all of you guys who watch and comment. And besides that, if you guys have any questions, let us know in the comments down below. But other than that, thank you so much for watching.